Hey, welcome to Sports Beat Live, the Kansas City Stars Chiefs post-game show. We're going to talk about the 33-31 victory over the Carolina Panthers at Arrowhead Stadium today, and we're going to do it with you. Want your questions and comments. We'll get to as many of them as we can, and we're going to do it with the folks who cover the team. We're going to the ones that are in the studio right now. Sam McDowell is here, and so is Sam Mellinger. What's up, guys?
How we doing?
Good. Better now. I know I can hear you. That's always good. Later on, Vahe Gregorian and Herbie Teope are going to join us. The game went a little late today, so that's why we're an incomplete panel at the moment. But all right, but let's start by saying that I don't know what I expected from this game, but I guess one scene that I did not anticipate was a Chiefs sideline jumping for joy when the clock hit 0-0-0 because a Panthers kicker missed a 67-yard field goal attempt at the end. So I'll put that out there. Sam Mellinger, what happened today? Why was this game so close?
I thought in the first half that Mahomes missed on a couple passes in particular that he usually hits on. That was the difference at one point, of settling for a field goal, maybe 2 field goals early. And then I also thought that the Panthers just went, I'm not going to use the term that's in my head right now, but they really went for it.
Yeah.
This was sort of their version of the Raiders, like sort of the kitchen sink and just everything. 3rd downs, 4th downs, that fake punt, the surprise onside, all that stuff gives you a little bit of a chance when you can make plays. And they had some guys like Samuel, McCaffrey, both those guys and more are making some crazy plays downfield. I looked at this. I don't know if I came into it like sort of jaded just because of what I already think the Chiefs are. But I looked at this as the Chiefs not playing their absolute best. I don't think they played badly, but it wasn't their best. But they took the other team's absolute best, and they were good enough that the Panthers did not have the ball with a chance to take the lead for most of the second half until that last drive that ended with a 68-yard field goal attempt, would have been the longest in league history, something like that. So I continue to be impressed by the Chiefs' ability to take on an opponent's best and deal with it.
Well, I think we can. Yeah, look, I think we can agree when we saw that this was the Jets-Panthers double on the schedule that, a few weeks ago we just thought these would be a couple of walkover type games, and certainly the Jets turned out to be that way. The Panthers have a better record. I was really impressed with the Carolina Panthers today, and we'll get into that as well. And Matt Rule, the old Baylor coach, doing what he did, the decisions that he made. But Herbie's joined us. Hey, Herbie, how you doing?
What's going on, fellas?
Good to see you. Hey, Sam McDowell, so you weigh in too. What just give us a sort of a overall impression of today.
Well, I think the main question is, was this more Panthers really good today, or was this the Chiefs not as good as they usually are? I think it's a little bit of a combination of both, but I swing the pendulum more to the Panthers because like Sam said, they threw everything at the Chiefs that they had in their playbook today. They had the surprise onside. They went for it on 4th down plays. I mean, on one of the 4th and 14 that they probably don't get it ends the game. Teddy Bridgewater practically flies in the air with a little bit of a boost from Ben Neiman to get the 1st down on it. Christian McCaffrey was terrific. I'm not going to go too deep into that because I know Herbie's going to talk about that for 25 minutes. But it says something also that the Panthers felt like this was the game worth doing that. And I recognize that they're 3-5, and so it's an important game playoff-wise for them. But that's a team that plays a lot of division games. They were tight in a game with the Saints a couple of weeks ago. You would have thought that was an opportunity. I just think with the new coaching staff, a lot of new quarterback, new faces on that new look of that franchise, they decided that if you can go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs, it would do wonders for your football team. And so you've got teams now coming into Kansas City that have decided this is the game that they feel like could be their biggest game of the season.
I thought the great decision making by Matt Rule started. Well, first of all, let's let's qualify this. They're great decisions because they worked. He probably got more than his fair share of successful finishes on these risk reward equations, but just when they won the coin toss and took the ball. So that's how confident he was that that the Panthers could do something. And what do? They march 75 yards, 15 plays in 9 minutes, and I think at least set the tone for the first half. So, Herbie, general impression on today, and were you as impressed with the Panthers as I was?
Absolutely. And, it goes back to our show on Thursday when you specifically asked me about the Panthers and what I thought about them. They are a completely different team with Christian McCaffrey. There's just no other way to say it. And then here we go. I see McDowell over there grinning and Mellinger.
I was trying to hold it in. I was trying to hold it in for you, buddy.
From my time down covering the NFC South, I got to look at Christian McCaffrey a lot. And
it's a double feature.
He's a special running back. And here's the other thing about that, too. That's a tailor-made offense for Teddy Bridgewater, who spent time with offensive coordinator Joe Brady with the New Orleans Saints. So, when all that comes together and, you talk about that first drive and all the questions that we had, whether McCaffrey was healthy, were effectively answered on that first drive. 15 plays, 6 touches went to McCaffrey, and of all people to leave uncovered, why in the world would you leave McCaffrey uncovered? That's like leaving LeBron James uncovered in the lane. You just don't do that. But, hey, the Chiefs took their best shot, and that's the thing that's impressive to me. They took their best shot, and they came out and won. And that's a sign of a very good team.
Today was the first time I'd seen Christian McCaffrey play in person. He wasn't on the team the last time the Chiefs played the Panthers, and I marveled at his toughness. And in the second half, when they had to continue to move the chains, you had Chiefs defenders bouncing off of him. Him running over guys and not they just weren't able to tackle the guy. And I was really impressed. As Vahe Gregorian joins us. Hello, Vahe.
Hi, Blair. I'm about 50 yards away from you, and I'm hearing a lot of really loud noises here. I don't know if you're having those in your soundproof area, but that's all. I just want to say that. That's it.
Okay.
That's all I got. That's my intro.
Okay. Yeah. That was good information. Appreciate that. Hey, so let me see if this makes any sense. It's the first time I saw McCaffrey in person. Obviously, Herbie has seen him play before. So the Carolina Panthers are a team that the Chiefs don't play. They watch film of them just like they do every opponent. It's a team that came in with a 3-5 record, not a contender, not a team that's that's ever broadcast to 85% of the nation. First year coach, really not going anywhere this year. Is this the type of team that maybe, when the Chiefs get ready to play the Ravens, I don't worry about the Chiefs being up for that game. And their next game in 2 weeks is going to be against the Vegas Raiders at the new stadium. I'm not worried about the Chiefs getting ready for that game as well. And when they go play at Tampa Bay and at New Orleans, and when they play Tua again in the Dolphins, I just think, boy, there's something there to look at and to understand and be ready emotionally for. And I just wonder if that was not the case today.
I don't think it was the case at all. I mean, they certainly knew their opponent. They knew what that opponent was capable of doing, especially when you've got that star-type player in McCaffrey. I think that applied more so to last week against the Jets, where, I was worried that was a game, they came out flat. It would have been totally understandable. But it was just a matter of the Panthers executing. The Panthers taking the ball first. Hey, we want the ball and we're going to score. And they did it. That set the tone for them. And then they jumped out to that 14-6 lead. The Chiefs over the past couple of weeks have excelled in keeping teams out of the end zone and holding them to field goals. And the Panthers were doing that to the Chiefs, which is why this win to me was so impressive, because they were able to flip it back around after the Panthers kind of stymied them.
All right, before we get into Patrick Mahomes and what went right for the Chiefs today, I wanted to get you guys' opinion on the Chiefs' last offensive possession. They recovered the onside kick after Carolina makes it a 2-point game, so they get the ball in Panthers territory. Run goes nowhere. Mahomes gets sacked. A screen pass to Darrell Williams for 3 yards. Tommy Townsend does have a nice punt, right? His only punt of the game lands at the 9. But you know what? The Panthers have almost 2 minutes to go, and I think a team with maybe a better quarterback can make a little more hay than Carolina did. But they did get into they got close enough to at least attempt a field goal. Let's break down that Chiefs possession and what can we say about that?
Well,
I personally would. I thought they should have tried to score. They should have at least tried to get first downs. I mean, they had scored on their previous 3 drives, went for touchdowns. The one before that was the missed field goal. So really, they should have had 4 consecutive scoring drives. And I'm not saying I would always go for it in that situation, but I thought that the circumstances dictated they should. Like I said, based on the track record, and obviously the quarterback goes into it, right? I mean, that's part of the equation when you're doing the math. But we knew that the Panthers kicker had a big leg. Heck, he kicked one ball 10 rows into the stands on a kickoff at one point. I didn't think the Panthers would have to get that many yards to make it interesting. And the Chiefs had the best possible punt they had, and they were still almost in trouble in the last play of the game. The first down play I don't mind. The second down play is the one I wasn't crazy about. Your quarterback was just on absolute fire today, and I thought I'd put the ball in his hands rather than my defense's hands.
Blair, Lady Luck was on the Chiefs defense side, though. Sorry, Melly. Lady Luck was on the Chiefs side there late in the game because I don't know if you guys noticed it from watching it on TV. Christian McCaffrey was out on the sidelines like the first couple of plays, and then he got dinged up. So he missed a good chunk of that drive. By the time that the Panthers crossed midfield, they didn't have that much time left, and that's when McCaffrey re-entered the game, and it was just too late then.
Yeah, but my look on the Chiefs last drive is a little bit similar to what Sam just said, but I know you just said you didn't mind the 1st and 10 run. I hated that. I just thought that they hadn't been. I get why you do it, make them burn the timeout and hopefully you get some yards, whatever. But I just feel like it's so unique to have this quarterback with these players around him, and you've been attacking and it's been working. Your strengths are your strengths. Like if I'm can win or lose based on how Patrick Mahomes performs with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and on and on and on, I take my chances there. And I think just a handoff to Le'Veon Bell is probably what the Panthers want you to do there.
It is interesting.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the reason the first down play I didn't necessarily mind is I think you have to run the clock at least once at some point during the drive. You can't, and if you throw an incompletion on first down, now you're kind of stuck having to throw the ball again on second down. Then you're stuck kind of having to throw the ball again on third down. And so I would put the ball in my quarterback's hands at least twice. But if you gain 5 yards on first down, now possibly you can play the clock game and actually try and run out the clock if it's second and short, third and short.
And I was just going to say, I mean, really, it's interesting. You guys said this in one form or another, but how the whole reason they are the Chiefs and they are who they are and they've succeeded the way they have is what they did in the first 58 minutes. And then you just sort of put that on the shelf and say, this is the nitty gritty. We got to win now, so let's do it differently. I mean, I understand the elements are different, and you can make cases either way, but I do like the idea of winning with who your personality is, right? With what you do.
There's a lot of merit to the idea that you can run successfully when everybody knows you're going to run. The Chiefs aren't that team. They are not. There are teams that can do that. The Chiefs can't do that, or at least they can't run in the way that in the plays that were called, especially the first down play. And to me, it harkened back to the fourth down call against the Jets a week ago, right? And they tried to pick up the first down there. So they just can't, they just can't move people up front, and so you have to play to your strength. And it's not what the Chiefs did there. So almost came back to bite him. Hey, who was the guy who ended up breaking up Teddy Bridgewater's last pass attempt? Because that ended up being a hell of a play.
Armani Watts.
Was it Watts? I mean, I thought that was a nice call by Carolina. I think it would have worked if it was completed. It would have gone out of bounds with another maybe 5 or 6 yards. And with 1 second to go, I thought that was a great call by Carolina, and a heck of a play by, if it was Armani Watts, that's a heck of a play by him.
Yeah, most defenders are expecting a Hail Mary, I think. I thought they were throwing a Hail Mary on that play with only 5 seconds on the clock. So more than anything, it was just a mentally aware play to realize the fact that they weren't going deep on that play.
Okay. All right, Vahe, I know that you dove into the Patrick Mahomes connection with Kelce, with Kelce and Hill, or just Kelce? Just where did you go today with your column?
Really just Kelce. It could have been, with a little more time, I guess, could have explored, I think, a little more of the whole Kelce Hill thing. But nature of the situation is we kind of have to pick our story concepts with a little running jump. And I thought there was enough to say about Kelce. You know, on a day like this, we get even though Hill had a very productive day, right? They had 18 targets, and they were out of sync a little bit. Patrick overthrew him the one time. Tyreek took the blame after the game, and it's hard to know exactly what happened there. Then there was no running game. The defense was kind of wobbly, and yet it seems to me that you got one thing you can really always count on now, and that is some kind of dynamic moment or 2 or 5 or 10 with Kelce that, it may not be the touchdown that wins the game, but it's the mortar of it all, right? It gets you there. And I thought that 44-yard pass to Kelce was as big a play as there was in the game. It was 3rd and 7. The Chiefs were about to go 3 and out. Carolina had been, hogging the clock. I don't know that the Chiefs lose the game if they don't make that play, but at some point they needed a play that flipped the field and changed something. And I thought that play was it.
Tell you what, he is, as much as he's ever been, a mismatch. He is just impossible to defend. I mean, it's just impossible. And the routes he runs are really good. And except for that one fumble, was it in Buffalo that he lost the fumble that he and Bieniemy got into it a little bit? I thought if anybody deserved a touchdown reception today, it was Kelce. And of course, he didn't get one, but he could have had one on the 28-yarder to Tyreek Hill. Kelce was right behind him, and he was open too. So could have had a touchdown reception. Anyway, I thought Kelce had a good game. And then I heard Patrick Mahomes say something today that I guess I hadn't heard him say and didn't realize, that until he got to the Chiefs, Mahomes had never played with a tight end.
Yeah.
How interesting was that?
Yeah, that was really interesting. And he just kind of blurted it out, Because I think I might have been my question. I can't remember, but I think he misunderstood my question, but answered it better than the question deserved. It was something along the lines of asking if he'd come to take Travis for granted. And he immediately said, I never take that for granted. I never even had a tight end before.
Yeah. So Adam Cook, his awesome high school coach, played at Texas Tech. I don't think extensively, but he was there at Texas Tech and just basically runs Texas Tech stuff was it White House High School or whatever. So it's something we should have put 2 and 2 together. But yeah, but in fairness, Travis Kelce plays tight end not as much as he plays receiver sometimes.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of an interesting question overall as we define the modern tight end, right? But there is clearly a special chemistry between them, and it shows up in these moments, and there is something about just the count on it kind of thing with Travis. I mean, I know, look, Hill is unbelievable, but I think we can see hit and miss with Tyreek and Patrick sometimes in ways that we don't really see with Patrick and Travis.
Well, let me just say it's always the goal of all of us to have an answer become better than the question, and you get fortunate that way. So Andrew Leifer agrees with us on the last drive. Chiefs' identity for the entire game was passing. I just think they need to stick to their guns aggressively. Listen, if there's an incomplete pass there, then you've essentially given the Panthers a timeout. So I guess that's the downside, as we all know. So, well, what else? As I always do, I'm grading the Chiefs, and the only good grade they got from me today was in the passing game. Everything else was average to below average. So Herbie, how do we reconcile that? I mean, this is why would the Chiefs have given up 430 total yards and 38 minutes of possession time? 38 minutes of possession time to a team that came in here 3-5 and again playing with a first-year coaching staff.
But that goes back to what we were mentioning earlier in the show. This is a completely different team with McCaffrey, and I think the Chiefs showed the level of respect they had for number 22. When you assign a defensive player to shadow an offensive player, that's respect. That's telling the other team, we know that you're capable of hurting us, so we're going to put one guy on you, kind of like the boxing one, and then Daniel Sorensen, even though 22 did rack up 151 total yards and a touchdown, Sorensen did a pretty good job there limiting the damage.
All right, are we? Where's the concern meter for Harrison Butker?
Unfortunately, we don't get the special teams guru this week.
No, that's
on
right.
a bye. Hey, six missed extra points this year. He entered this season a career average of 93, something like that. He's in the 70s now. You got to be concerned. Another missed field goal. I know the conditions on the field today the wind was all over the place. I mean, you saw the field goal. Vahe and I were laughing about it in the press box. The Panthers kickoff went like this, and then the wind got a hold of it, and it went that way. I know it was windy down there, but man, you got to be a little concerned here.
It's an interesting question. It's like the home run hitter, who's going to hit 52 homers or something, and then he's whiffing a lot, not knocking in the runs you need him to knock in. I mean, when he can hit those long range balls, that's the kind of thing not every team has. But on the other hand, you got to have the DNA of knowing you've got an extra point being made every time you score a touchdown.
Herbie, we didn't get to this, but who ended up on the injury list today?
Oh man, Taco Charlton fractured leg. Rashad Fenton with an ankle injury. Mike Remmers left the game shortly with a rib injury, but he did return. And Antonio Hamilton has a hamstring injury. You're probably not going to see Taco Charlton with a fractured leg or a fractured bone in his leg. But the good news is they got the bye week next week. So all these hamstring injuries, these soft tissue injuries, you got an extra week to heal. Hopefully, with Mitchell Schwartz not playing, maybe that was by design. You knew the bye week was coming. We knew Sammy Watkins returned to practice this past week in a limited fashion, which means he's getting closer to returning. Not having him play today and give him the bye week as well, you think they're probably going to come out of that bye week healthy. L'Jarius Sneed probably is going to be back as well.
Another thing that came out of the post game was Frank Clark, the last player that we talked to today, said second half of the season, which of course to the Chiefs is post bye week. Look for Chris Jones to be playing more outside, so less inside, more outside. So I thought that was interesting as well.
They're probably going to need that too, because with Alex Okafor on injured reserve and now Taco Charlton injured, you are going to need that versatility. Thankfully, you got Tershawn Wharton. You see that one pass rush when he burst through the middle there? I was like, holy smokes. And then I know, we were like, how in the world did this guy go undrafted? We're at that point now where Tershawn Wharton, we're asking, how did this guy go undrafted? Had a hell of a season.
Melly, I didn't get to what you wrote about. What's big picture?
Yeah, the sort of at the gun, the instant column was just about how this team just survives. It's kind of something that we've talked about, that a lot of us have written about before. Just that it's like they've got all the answers to the test already. And so, like Blair, I think it's really interesting that you just mentioned this, that the only thing that you gave them a good grade on was the passing game, and that's all they needed. That's all they needed to win a game. And sort of along those lines, the other thing that I haven't sent it in yet, but it's going to be, I think Patrick Mahomes is the MVP. And I understand that I'm watching all of his snaps 3 times at least. And I'm not, I'm watching Russell Wilson mostly on highlights. So I get that part of it. But Russell Wilson turned the ball over 4 times today in a loss. Patrick Mahomes has turned it over once all season, right? He's on pace for 4,777 yards. 40, I had it written down, but I think 45 touchdowns, 46 touchdowns, something like that. And then obviously like I guess 2 interceptions. So, I mean, how's that not MVP? And I get like Russell Wilson's going to throw for 50-some touchdowns maybe, and he's got a crap defense. And so that goes along with the let Russ cook thing. There's going to be some energy behind him. But Mahomes is putting up numbers that people have just never, ever seen.
And I liked your line of questioning, which you're asking Kelce and Andy and even Patrick himself, what do you see that's different about him? And I think they all sort of agreed that it's, Mahomes says he's just that much smarter than he was a couple years ago. But Andy Reid's the game's different for him now. To me, it's the elimination of the mistake. It's not the spectacular play. Look, he overthrew Tyreek Hill, right? He had Tyreek Hill in the end zone for a touchdown I think it was their second possession when they settled for the long Butker field goal. He had, Hill had a step on his guy. That was going to be a touchdown, and they miscommunicated. Hill took the blame for that, by the way, in the post game. But that you see. What you don't see is you don't see the interception. You don't see the silly play. And look, the Chiefs aren't in a position often this season for him to have pressure to make a play. They're usually in the lead. He's defenses are playing in a way that there's a lot more safer passes for him to throw underneath. And every time I see Kelce, catch a ball, there's hardly anybody around him. I mean, that speaks to his route running, I think. And so anyway, I'm not saying that. I think it's all part of the evolution of the offense, and Mahomes is obviously the key component to it.
Yeah, there's something going on with him too. Like it's not a criticism, right? But in the MVP talk, it would be fair to point out, and I get DK Metcalf, I get what he's doing, but it's always fair to point out that Patrick Mahomes is being coached by Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, and he's got Tyreek Hill and Travis. He's in a position, and my dog is very excited about it too. Sorry. He's in a position to succeed, but what he's doing sort of subtly, Blair, you just mentioned the turnovers, and that's a huge deal, obviously. But he also does a million things, and Andy Reid brought this up, a million things that we just can't notice, and he brought up the Richard Sherman thing. I don't know how many people saw that interview he did with Chris Collinsworth, where he was talking about he had pounced on what he thought was going to be a pick six, and like in the middle of his delete, he's already cocked back to throw it. And as he's going forward, he adjusts his target to take Tyreek away from the defense and its completions. And there's just it's next level. If you're as talented as Patrick, you're not supposed to be as smart. You know what I mean? And if you're as smart, if you're as heady, that you're not supposed to be able to do the things that he can do physically. And that he has both, backed by an outrageous amount of support with skill position and coaching. It's just it's what we see. That's how you get to these ridiculous numbers and moments.
Barbara Hedrick says good dog, and
she is usually.
And Kathy Christensen wanted to know how much of a factor the weather was today, or the wind. I'm sorry, the wind was today, and we addressed it earlier, but it was absolutely breezy out there. And Mahomes was asked about, or was it Tyreek Hill? I forgot who was asked. Maybe it was Kelce. I can't remember. Was it Tyreek? About deep balls in the wind, but he said. It's the shorter passes were more difficult. What did he mean by that? Anybody have any idea?
I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think what he means is like on the deep balls, you've got time to adjust. And this is him talking because Tyreek is next level tracking the ball. He can do it like few can. But I think his point was the longer the ball's in the air, the more time he has to adjust and get to where it's going to land. But on the short passes, and sometimes they're no look passes. He's got all that, and it's just less time to react, less time to adjust. I think that's what he meant by it. But you could see on some of those field goals and kicks and stuff, it was howling down there.
There was one short pass, I think it was fourth quarter, from Patrick to Tyreek. It was maybe an 8-yard pass that sailed. I mean, it went 5 feet over Tyreek's head. And after the play, I thought I saw Tyreek pointing at himself, and Patrick was pointing at himself, like they both messed up. But Sam, maybe that's one of the very plays that he might have been thinking of as he said that.
Could have been.
Sam, you were you mentioned the situation, the circumstance that Patrick Mahomes finds himself in with Andy Reid, having apprenticed under Alex Smith. I would add to that, and with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, he may not have better people in those positions in his career than he has right now, and I think he's taking full advantage of that this year.
Yeah. If he ever has better support than he has right now, then I'm dying to see what that looks like. I can't wait for that moment. But it's also like he's making them all better too. Like Andy Reid never won a Super Bowl coaching like normal quarterbacks, and he had a long time to try and do it. And Travis Kelce wasn't. He's great on his own. Tyreek Hill great on his own, but Mahomes makes everybody from Mark Donovan and Clark Hunt all the way down. He's making everybody in that organization better as well, for sure.
What about the beat writers that cover him? The columnists and
100%. Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that rivals it from a content perspective is 2012, but nobody wants to go.
No.
You can't fight City Hall, Sam. Come on, man.
Yeah. Well, I thought these have been two remarkable weeks for Mahomes. 9 touchdown passes, no interceptions.
Yeah.
I haven't the yards add up to almost 400, 800 yards, right? A little bit under 400 today. It's just he's just on an incredible streak right now, and I don't even know if you can call it a streak. And it's necessary too when the Chiefs don't run the ball as effectively as they need to be running the ball.
And that's crazy to bring that up because it was just a few weeks ago. We watched them put up all those yards on the Buffalo Bills, and we were like, oh man, the Chiefs are just going to be running the ball, and get 100 yards against the Broncos. And then in the past 2 games, they ran the ball 20 times last week. They ran the ball 12 times today. It's like, man, I'm old enough to remember when they were putting up 200 yards rushing, and now it's all Patrick Mahomes. It's Mahomes took a back seat for 2 weeks, and we know who the true star of this team is.
Part of that is because of what they did against Buffalo, though. I mean, we've seen teams defend them a little bit differently these past couple of weeks because of the success they had against Buffalo. But Blair, to add to this streak that he's on, I mean, they ran a play for a touchdown today that he designed, basically. I mean, the play in motion was one that he screwed around with in practice, convinced Andy Reid that they should run it. They ran it. So it's just funny to me that I'm constantly thinking every time we write about this guy, like, I don't know what other level he can get to that can prompt us to write something new about him. And now we're learning he's designing plays in practice.
Quarterback in motion. I just have never conceived of such a thing. And I guess I didn't understand why he had to go work at the special teams, but he did have to get the rules qualification on that to make sure.
Well, when he said that, he meant that during those special teams periods, the offense, kind of does its own thing a little bit, and so he was kind of messing around with stuff there. But that is one important point about it is before he even goes to Andy Reid, he asked Tom Melvin, their tight ends coach, "Hey, am I even allowed to do this? Is this even legal?"
And that kind of speaks to there's that mind meld that we talk about a lot though between the quarterback and the head coach here, because that reminded me of Andy Reid is always trying to push the boundaries as well, and it reminded me of the what do they call it, Rose Bowl right parade, of trying to figure out, can we still do that? Is this still allowed? And then additionally, before every game except for the Super Bowl, we find out later, telling the referees, hey, we've got this. It's not a penalty. Don't call it a penalty. Here's what's coming. It's just a little bit reminiscent of Mahomes just doing that, like, can I even do this? Because I don't know how many combined years we all have of watching football, but it's more than a couple. And, you'll see quarterbacks go in motion sometimes, like wildcat, stuff like that. But I've just never seen a quarterback take the snap while in motion.
On the run, never seen that.
I like the idea that Andy now has Patrick watching the 1917 Rose Bowl
Right.
for his own inspiration. By the way, the Penn Quakers played in that.
Well, I kudos to Austin Ryder, who had to snap the ball to.
I was wondering that, Blair.
Yeah.
How did he know when? I was kind of wondering, when did he know exactly when to snap it? I mean, were they aided by the empty stadium so you could hear the call better? I mean, I was wondering, how did they time up the snap exactly right there?
That'd have been the type of question that Sam Mellinger would have zoomed to after the game in an open locker room.
Yeah. 1,700 words on that play, baby.
on his part of that play.
Can't do it in the Zoom world, though.
Nope. Okay, so let's a couple of thoughts as we close it out. A lot of people are mentioning Alex Smith, who got in the game today and threw a touchdown pass. How cool is it to see Alex Smith? And Travis Kelce was asked about Alex after the game as well, and had a nice comment on Alex Smith. Said he wanted to get Alex Smith to a Super Bowl, and sorry he couldn't. So it really great to see. Wow, what a story, Alex Smith.
It's unbelievable. I'm definitely not the first person to say this, but I'd like to amplify it. Like they should name it the Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year award.
I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like the injury that he had. That ESPN did a great, I don't know if it was a 30 for 30 or whatever the documentary was. It was phenomenal. So, okay, it is a bye week for the Chiefs on and 9 weeks into the season. They need one, and a lot of players are asked about it after the game. And usually it's a time for them to get out of town. Those that live outside of town, I don't know how much of that'll be happening, but here's hoping that they can stay COVID free. Chiefs have been fairly fortunate in that department, even with the scare this week with Chris Jones and trainer Rick Burkhalter. But Chris Jones, of course, played today, and next time that we see the Chiefs on the field, it'll be in 2 weeks on a Sunday night against the Las Vegas Raiders. So we'll leave it here, and we'll bid farewell to Vahe Gregorian, Sam McDowell, Sam Mellinger, Herbie Teope, and thank our producer, Beth Welsh, who does such a great job putting the show together. And we will talk to you guys again soon. Thanks a lot.